Hello, thanks for joining me. This will be my first ever video of this kind ever, which is unboxing and reviewing. So please excuse the poor quality. I don't even have a proper setup or anything. This is just, I wanted to get this out almost as soon as possible. So bear with any, low quality stuff, amateurish stuff. Hopefully, as I explore the hobby, I can get better, acquainted with recording equipment and even have some better angles, because right now you don't even want to know how I'm holding this phone up. So anyway, I've been in the market for a gel blaster for a long time. I did some research and I finally come across this thing on Amazon. It's an M416 styled gel blaster. So for the price point, I was already pretty ecstatic about it. I mean, I saw it for what, 80 bucks. I figured, why not? I'd try it. I mean, I know a lot of the other, realistic blasters go for almost twice that just for an entry level one. So for the price point, I think that it's a very fair value. Nothing too crazy. This one though, it really looks like a child's toy more than anything. I mean, it's actually a lot smaller than I anticipated. I mean, I'm a big dude. I got big hands. So this, while it is a comfortable grip, after a while you'll start to see, I mean, the trigger guard is pretty cramped here. The grip itself, I think, is to scale, but everything else, the mag well and the magazine actually, they're pretty small. Now I do like the attention to detail. The handguard slash barrel thing are just one solid piece. It doesn't come off or anything. I thought it did, but it doesn't. Um, it's got rails on the top. So one long integrated rail on the top, one rail on the side, another rail on the other side, a nice bottom one. Now, yes, all these rails are actually usable. The only difference that I found with all of them is that the bottom one, the bottom one here has a chamfer on it. So that allows for the accessories, which I'll get to in a bit, slide on easier. I mean, you can see the ones on the side, they're solid. They don't really have that, that chamfer, that edge. So you can use these, but it's going to be a second before you actually get it on there. The top one is also chamfered. However, you got the this gas thing up here, this model gas thing up here. So it won't actually slide on as quickly as the other ones. And taking accessories off of this will also take you a quick second. So be wary of that. Don't try to shove things on here. It's all plastic. It's not the highest quality or anything, but for what it is, I think it's okay. The lipo's back here where the buffer tube would be. So it starts out here. You can see we got grooves right here where the buffer tube actually connects to it and slides on the rest of the stock. So fortunately, it comes with two lipos. So I got one right here that's already attached to it. I've finished with it a little bit. And they come at least partially charged. I know that because I did some test fires and all that. This thing works pretty well. But luckily enough, they give you another one. So that's good for extended use. If you always want to have one ready, and then whatever you're using one for, that's always good. It's USB powered. So this will go into any USB wall adapter. That's good. I like that. Really like that they included too. I think for the price point, including everything, is extremely fair, especially for a entry level one. I'm pretty satisfied. So if we look at the detailing here on the receiver, I don't want to call it an upper or lower because it's all one piece. You can see that they do have certain details here. The fire selector switch. You go to single fire. Sorry. Full auto and then single fire the other way. Now, when you're in single fire, oh wow, I guess I was right. Sorry about that. Yeah, you hear that? It sort of disengages the full auto mechanism so that you can go ahead and start doing this. I don't recommend dry firing this because I'm not sure of the strain that it puts on this thing, like the actual mechanism for firing. I do it because I'm reckless and irresponsible. But if you want to make this thing last, I would advise against that. So yeah, manual shooting mode as they call it. Turn that, you get your full auto. Now the swapping between them, everything on this blaster actually, I should say, was pretty stiff. Manipulating this for the first few times is going to take some time to get used to. It doesn't click. It's more of like a really stiff turn. So let's see. Here we are in full auto again. I'm just going to swap over to semi just to not trigger this anymore. Again, you can hear the audio cue. So the forward assist is just molded. It doesn't actually function. Same with the dust cover. It doesn't open. Here's your magazine release right here. You press this. And the thing about this is that, you know, something that I found interesting, this doesn't drop the magazine right out. I think that's by design. I don't think they wanted kids just dropping these willy-nilly. You can see on the other side how it sort of bulges out there. But basically, all you got to do is press that, and then you have to apply some downward force to get that out. Not a ton, but just enough so that it's still in here in the mag well, and it doesn't immediately drop out. But, you know, they go in and out pretty easily. That's what I like. What else do we have? Is that a general? Yeah, that's pretty much it for the general overview. I'm going to go ahead and assemble this. I was going to do a raw unboxing, but customs kind of beat me to it. I guess as they should, you know. They are just doing their job after all. But here's everything that was included with the blaster. I'm going to adjust the camera here as best as I can. So, starting at the right, we've got a ton of these gel balls, these little pellets. So these come in packs of 500, and I've got well over like 10 there. I didn't count, guys, I'm sorry. I was really excited to get this unopened, or opened, I should say, but I didn't really count. Now, a tip for any new beginners out there, don't be like me. Don't be impatient, because I initially thought that this blaster did not work because it wouldn't feed properly. All the electronics were good outside the box, but they just wouldn't feed, and I couldn't figure out why. I mean, I'd soaked them for about an hour. Give or take, it was like 45, 50 minutes. Don't do that. Spend some time. Actually, let them soak for about 2 hours at least. Otherwise, let's see if I can pick it up without crushing it. Otherwise, they come out like this. Okay, this is small. They should look. Let me see if I can get one out here. Oh, there we go. Look at that. There is a noticeable difference in diameter. Look at that. Beautiful. So yeah, of course, don't be like me. Take your time, and trust me, this thing's going to work just fine. I really thought that I got a dud when I first got this because I didn't take my time. So if I can adjust my camera right, hopefully, you know. If not, I'm just going to have to find some way around it. But, okay. So it comes with safety glasses. You know, this is really cool. These are essential. Anytime that you're playing around with this, you're going to want to have eye protection at all times, because these things, they bounce around once they get to their peak water absorption. And the last thing you want to do is get a ricochet into your eye, or even worse, someone else's eye. So make sure that you're wearing this and anyone around you is either standing far enough back or has these as well if you're conversing one another. Now, in terms of accessories, all of them arrived pretty well, like in good shape. The only thing that happened, at least in my particular case, I don't know if this was due to shifting around during shipping or what, but I don't actually have my iron sights on, because as you can see, mine either has a birth defect or it got rustled around, and they're pretty bad. So just a quick overview. This is a 3-part system with a screw. So it's got the left side right here, the right side, and then the middle post. And if you can see that, the middle post is supposed to be a piece in its own that snaps in, and it's shifted to a pretty extreme degree here, and I don't really want to mess with it too much and risk breaking something. So I'm going to have to try to find a small enough screwdriver to get in there and do it. Otherwise, here's the rear post. You can see it's styled in the H&K style. So that goes, you can see right through that pretty clearly. If I could have had that ready, I would have loved to have integrated it into the blaster when I use it. Unfortunately, it doesn't do that yet, so I'll have to fix it. If not, hopefully the next time I order one, it's in better shape. Here are the magazines. These things hold a pretty decent amount. I want to say maybe 1 to 200 balls fit in here. It all depends on their water absorption and all that. So wouldn't really take that to heart, but you can see on the inside there, it opens up through here. And once you've loaded it up with however many you got, it's a good idea to click this button here. And this will, much like airsoft, actually push the balls to the top. Now, you can't do this if you don't have enough in there, but once you have a sizable amount, pretty much a full magazine, up at least up to here, you'll see that this slowly but surely fills up to the top, and that aids in the feeding of the ball, so you don't have a lot of jams or misfires or whatever. And like I said, they include two. Oh, and as I previously mentioned, these things are small. They were smaller than I was anticipating. Might be a little difficult to notice on camera, but trust me, I have big hands, and I'm pretty sure that these are not to scale. But then again, the whole blaster is more or less chopped down. To give you guys an idea, well, this is modeled after the 416, but I justified this in my head as, apart from being a children's toy, I was like, oh, it's more like the 14C, smaller and all that, but still. Regardless, though, they feed him pretty well. They get the job done. This is just sort of like my own observation. I'm going to try to keep the review as objective as possible with a few bits of subjective criticism here and there. But something that I do have to commend them for is providing 2 magazines. If nothing else, like not a spare battery, only 1 grip, etc., I would have preferred 2 magazines, because whenever sellers provide just the 1 magazine, it defeats the purpose of having the magazine in at all. For those of you who are uninitiated, certain blasters either come with the box magazine that's removable, or with an internal magazine. And the difference is that with these, the point is that you're able to swap out for a full one whenever you basically run dry whatever magazine you have inside. So when you only get one of them, you're stuck even worse than when you started, because at least with the internal magazine, you can just refill up your little balls and you'll be good to go. With this, if you only had one, you'd have to completely take it apart from the blaster. Not take it apart, but remove it from the blaster, then fill it up, then put it back in. It's just a lot of unnecessary stuff for what could be resolved by just having a second one, so that's good. I know this sounds a little ranty, but trust me, after you've spent some time with, just observing blasters in general, you'll understand why. And even then, I mean, it's always good to have more. The fun part. So here's the quote-unquote suppressor. I know this is modeled after a specific game. I don't want to say which one, just for, I guess, safety purposes, but it's friction fitted and it's wide bore, which is good, because when these things are made to scale, the ball can lose an extreme amount of velocity and bounce around within the barrel, causing you to just, barely shoot them out. So when they're like this, when they're, big bore like that, it allows a bigger space for the ball to move around without necessarily hitting anything. And you'll notice this as you fire. Even then, they still do hit. You'll notice when you're blasting chunks out like a shotgun. But again, this fits pressure fitted right there. That's pretty sturdy. You can just unscrew it off, I guess, to, cause the illusion that you're screwing it on and off. But again, you can just pull it right off. Now, something else that I noticed is that my blaster came like this, splitting at the end. You could just chalk that up to cheap plastic, but I mean, I really don't care myself. What it could be as well, it could be by design to help keep friction with the suppressor so it doesn't fall off. So if that's the case, cool. If not, oh well. Something else that I need to stress, there is no orange tip anywhere on the barrel or the handguard piece. So be extremely careful when you take this out. If you do public spaces, you know, if someone calls the cops because they don't know, because from a distance, I mean, this just looks like a blue gun. All right. I'm going to try to stress extremely to not call these things guns or firearms at all. Just call them blasters, just to further differentiate them from legitimate firearms as a way to help educate people. But you have to make a conscious choice to order one without the orange tip. I know that. So that's why when I ordered it, I knew I was going to be toting it around in public like a madman. I was going to be plinking in my backyard, trying hard as heck to keep people out of view. So don't carry this out in public spaces, even if it is a toy. You never know when accidents could happen and questions aren't asked. So bear that in mind. Now, if you do have to travel with this, I highly advise that you travel with it like this, even disengaged from the lipo, and keep it in the back seat or in the trunk of your vehicle, covered up with a tarp or a towel. That way, you know, at least you're treating it like a real live firearm. In the case that you get pulled over, hopefully not, you can tell, you know, the officer that you have this. They can go verify that it's not a legit lethal firearm, and you'll be fine. Otherwise, try to keep this out of view. If you're in your room, that's fine, but even then, just be careful. Just for your own safety, guys. Let's try to keep this hobby as safe as possible, and that's step one of doing that. So I'm going to move this out of the picture for a bit. So I'm going to start with the scope. Hold on. I apologize, but I guess that's the consequences of not having a designated recording space. But anyway, as I was saying, so this is the start of my grievances, okay? With this attachment. Not this specifically, but it shows off a very big glaring issue that affects some of the other accessories. So here we have a faux scope. You got your lens covers here in the back. I don't really want to focus on the name too much because I don't know how like legal this is. Like if there is like any sort of name that goes by the similar name, so I don't want to show that. But basically, it's a little mirror lens. Oh, wait, sorry, opposite end. That you can adjust on the top here. So I can actually do that. It's a very subtle change. I mean, it's just sort of there to simulate the feeling of zeroing in a scope. You know, but it's a cute little detail. You've noticed there's a rail on the side here, which actually looks higher quality than the other ones. This, you can mount attachments on here. You know, just for the meme, I threw on the vertical grip, but don't do this because this isn't a very strong connection. I mean, it is a pretty strong connection, and I'm going to get back to this in a second, but still, I wouldn't want to hold on to the grip while it's up here and trying to be practical. It's just not going to work. But to the connection, actually, I love this connection piece right here. So it's a bit of a simple design, but it still gets the job done very well. So you see this screw right here. This goes through both pieces. If I loosen this up a bit, we can see the pieces that make it. So we can see right here. This comes undone. This piece right here, this piece of plastic comes off too, so you can fully adjust this wherever you want on that rail, and then you just simply tighten it back up and it stays pretty well, and there's a pretty sturdy connection. So what bugs me about this is that they took the time to actually make this whole system good. You know, ignoring the fake magnification, ignoring everything else. This is a solid connection piece. So why are the grips not the same way? So included with the blaster, we have a vertical grip here, pretty decent size, and then we've got, you know, the more horizontal grip stop style, which I actually had to grow accustomed to, because if you notice, there's no way for these to tighten on the rail. Why on the scope, but not on the on these, which would have more pressure applied to them? Like, I understand maybe they wanted to keep this steady, but I would have much more preferred to have a screw here, which even more of a laughable point because they're molded on here in plastic. I would have preferred this to have had this same mounting mechanism. But I guess what can you do? You gotta have sacrifice in one place or another. They also have an instruction sheet here. It just shows you how to snap everything in place. Here we have the stock. Here's another one of those smaller sizes. I think this might be to scale, but I don't know. This almost, on me, it resembles a, what do they call those? A brace. Yeah, it almost resembles a brace for me. You can see right there, it slides in. It's actually adjustable, which is nice. So you just pull back on this little slide piece here, and it corresponds with these notches on the barrel. Sorry, buffer tube. On the buffer tube. So here's as close as you can get, then it goes one back, and another back, and then it can just slide off completely. So you can just run it around with the buffer tube style, almost like a pistol. But bear in mind that there is still a hole in the back, so your LiPo could fall out, or just it could be bad news. Because here's where it connects to the actual receiver. You can see those pegs again that correspond with the grooves on the back right there. But yeah, that's it.